What's up, guys? George Balekji here with Boston has entered the chat. But hey, check out the latest episode of Hockey Hub. We have Adam Pellerin and Judd Surratt on that episode. And they roll through the geeky pasta Zaka line, how it's been heating up for the Bruins, and also how the Bees are eyeing a return for Hampus Lindholm and Charlie McAvoy. They're back at practice wearing regular jerseys. What could that mean for the Bees moving forward? That's the Hockey Hub, wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. You can also watch on Nesson's YouTube page, Facebook, and Twitch. And if you're watching on YouTube on Nesson's page, hit the subscribe button as well. Now, let's get to the chat. All right, what's up? Welcome in. It's Boston has entered the chat. George Balekji here with Kasey Hudson making her chat debut. Case, what's up?
I'm getting adjusted to Boston and sub-freeze temperatures. I mean, I know it's not sub-freezing today, but that was my welcome.
Yeah, it's been brutal this last week. Yep. I am sorry.
Thank you. On behalf of all Boston, I hope you're apologizing. But no, it's been fantastic, and getting to chat with all of you guys, and more importantly, like, what better sports area to get to dive into than Boston, honestly.
I know, exactly. It's heating up all over, ramping up, and we'll be talking about the Boston sports teams. Is it... I called you Case off rep. I said Casey, then Case. Is Case a nickname or no? Is it always Casey?
No, Case is immediately a nickname. So I'm
Case
glad
cool
that you broke
show.
the ice on that immediately.
Right,
that was a good call.
As I did that, I'm like, I don't know if we're there yet. First show. We'll see. Hey, we got a packed show for you guys. As always, we go through what's trending. Adam Vinatieri, yes, legendary kicker. He spoke with Kasey Hudson and Dante Campbell. We'll have that interview for you guys later on in the show. We also run through what dynasty is better, the Chiefs and what they couldn't achieve with the fourth Super Bowl, or the Patriots, who have two separate dynasties to point to. And then finally, we talk about Jeff Lurie. Yes, the owner of the Eagles, potentially eyeing a buy of the Boston Celtics, what that can mean and what he would mean to Boston as well. But let's get into it. You guys know what it is when it comes to trending. 3 minutes each topic. You got a timer on the screen. If you're listening to us, heads up, there will be a loud buzzer. Well, let's get started with the NFL revealed the Pepsi Offensive Rookie of the Year voting. And the finalists are Bo Nix, Malik Neighbors, Jaden Daniels, Brock Bowers, Brian Thomas Jr. of the Jaguars, and Bucky Irving, the running back for the Buccaneers. Kasey, you see these nominees. Everyone thinks there's an obvious answer to this. In your eyes, who would get your vote? Who will get your vote? Because you can vote online. Who will get your vote for Rookie of the Year in the NFL?
I feel like that when you're hinting towards the obvious answer, it's got to be Jaden Daniels, right?
Yes.
But as spectacular as this season has been and as magical as that's going to be for the start of his career, I can't sway around from Bo Nix. I mean, just think about the conversations that took place when the competition started, when they had the three quarterbacks that they did, when they said Bo Nix needs to prove himself. Can he do this? Mm-hmm. The Broncos weren't even supposed to win more than 5 games. Yep. So let alone you do it with a rookie quarterback. And I guess that it's a parallel storyline to Jaden Daniels, but just considering the team around him, considering the storylines, like the Commanders, I feel like had more faith backing them than Bo Nix. So I'm really impressed with Bo Nix, but I'm a tight end girl. Bowers is, I mean, I can't sway too far from what I love. And he just kept making them relevant. He kept them in conversations. But if I had to make a hard choice, it's going to be Bo Nix for me at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Bowers, I would give the argument to Bowers more than Bo Nix. He's 8th in the NFL in receiving yards, 3rd in catches, and that's him on pace or ahead of guys like CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Malik Neighbors right on his heels. But what Jaden Daniels did, and this is a regular season-based award, so it's not even bringing the postseason into it, but the amount of wins he was leading the Commanders to, the relevancy, they hit their, speed bump, I'd say, middle of the season. They started losing games, and everyone thought, okay, you hit the wall. Cliff Kingsbury, the offense is figured out. Mm-hmm. But they found a way to recover. And he was a guy that Jaden Daniels, as getting drafted, as getting ready in the process, was seen as a day one starter and a pro-ready quarterback right off rip. So it wasn't a surprise to see him starting. But the level of success he had, and him as a passer, it's not just an athletic quarterback, did a lot with his legs. No. He was a drop-back passer, one of the most efficient offenses in the league. And that defense wasn't great, as you saw in their playoff loss. His receiving room wasn't the most talented. He did a lot with the least. The one I would give you to on Bo Nix, I am the known Bo Nix hater of this building.
Oh, so I came in with the wrong answer for you.
No. He did impress me, though. I think him with Sean Payton was perfect.
Yes. If
Bo Nix ended up in New England, it would have been a disaster, especially the card he would have been dealt this season. But him with Sean Payton, how efficient he was, making him and Sean Payton maximizing Bo Nix's ability in game and opening up the deep ball for him, because that's a guy that's average air yards per attempt was like 2.
Yep.
No, he was hitting downfield targets accurately. Bo Nix a lot, but to me, it's Jaden Daniels gets my vote.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, though, because he wasn't expected to be a deep ball guy, and everyone thought that coming into this, actually Bo Nix is just going to hand the ball off, and they're going to rely on their running game. Yeah. So when we saw that expand and open up in those massive targeted plays, there we go.
There's your first
There's my My first buzzer. Fantastic. Anyway, Bo Nix for me, like you said.
You could go past the buzzer a little bit.
I got nervous, and then I heard there's a voice. Oh, okay.
No. You should get a double buzzer.
I don't need Bruce Almighty coming in on my train of thought here, so I got nervous.
Isaiah Thomas. Yes, that Isaiah Thomas, former Celtics great, is attempting to make an NBA comeback with the Jazz's G League affiliate. He's 35 years old, been in the NBA for 12 seasons with 10 different teams. Last year in the G League, he averaged 37 minutes, 33 points, 6 made 3 field goals per game. With the G League before being called up with the Suns and actually playing in the NBA for them. Man, this is a guy that just loves ball, chasing the dream, never giving up. And, like, he's a hooper at his heart. I respect the hell out of it. And especially coming up with the Jazz, like, there could be a spot on the court for him with that team, or maybe some other NBA teams around the league. Injuries happen, they trade for him, sign him, whatever, find a way to get him on their floor.
Yeah, absolutely. You said it. I mean, this is somebody who doesn't want to give up on the dream, but doesn't particularly have to. It does make me nervous because obviously the injury, 2016, 2017, along those lines, when you start talking about loss of cartilage and the other things that have to come into play in order for you to actually get to your most elite level of play, he's still balling, which is crazy, but it is G League. So I hope that he gets a shot outside of that. Clearly he wants that shot, but I'm just nervous about the injury. And when do you finally just say, I've done it, I've done all the things, I've hit the numbers, like now I need to let my body ride?
I think he would have said that like 5 years ago,
I would hope so.
And he's not. So that's where it's like he keeps going, where his body has to feel good enough that he can do this, you know? Now, like an 82 NBA season, him being the player he once was, like that's out of the realm of possibility. Right. But a guy that, like, just, again, loves hoop and also will keep collecting those NBA paychecks when he gets called up, like, I don't blame him on it at all.
That's true. Would you compare that to the call-ups with, like, NHL? Like, hey, I'll get my money really quick. I'll get some notation by my name. So there you go.
Same with, like, Major League Baseball guys that get called up from AAA for a time, get sent back down. You get the paycheck. I mean, it matters. Practice squad guys being on the active game day roster in the NFL. And I think it's like we get with Isaiah Thomas. I always say the same of Jamal Crawford. I remember I met him. It was right after the Celtics won the NBA Finals last year. And I was just talking with him, grew up a fan, so that's what I said. And I was like, you know, he's still hooping because he does pro-ams in Seattle. He's like, yep, catching a plane, going to go do that now. Though they're the guys, like, they still get in a gym and they do run. Like, Isaiah Thomas, I feel like it's been this long. His body's still the same. I feel like he's going to keep doing it like maybe another 2-3 years. Like, I don't think it's going to stop for him.
could actually see him hanging in there for a little bit longer. Plus, you get to avoid that post-athletic career hangover. Like, I was listening to some of the guys the other day, and they were talking about, like, trying to figure out, do you want to do real-world things, or do you want to process if you can actually become a 9-to-5 person? Like, if you can do G League and get those call-ups, then you get to stay within your realm of what makes you happy. So, cheers to him on that one.
I think it's that, and he's, like, staying around his passion, too.
Yeah.
He obviously, like, loves basketball, and I feel like this for him would be a cool experience of you pour into younger guys, pour into guys that are coming up, still developing into their game. So it's like his way, he's not going into coaching, but I mean, that's a role he serves. And again, it's like every once in a while you get that call up to the show under the bright lights in the NBA, like you keep doing it. And for him, like the Jazz G League team wants him on. I feel like until the phone stops ringing, he's going to keep doing it.
And you play. Does this change the scope of the G League, though? Because imagine some of the guys who took the college route, felt like they missed their chance in the NBA by like this much, and that's where G League started to come in. So, like, do you think that him playing in it continuously changes it?
No, I feel like the G League is still that developmental side of it. And, like, we see it change. Like, NIL brought it back into college basketball to help. I just feel like for this, maybe it's like down the line, like the vets, you know, the guys that get older, instead of going to China to play in the G League.
Ah, touche.
Go that way, it's not as bad. All right, and the Patriots making another addition to their coaching staff, hired Thomas Brown as their tight ends coach and passing game coordinator. Thomas Brown was 3 different jobs this last season. Passing game coordinator for the Bears, offensive coordinator for the Bears when Shane Waldron was fired, then interim head coach when Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron was fired. That aside, that's a lot of experience in 1 year, and I wouldn't hold the Bears against him. I love this hire. Yeah. I love the way Mike Vrabel's building out the staff. He'll be the tight ends coach and passing game coordinator again. But this is a guy that's worked under Sean McVay for 3 seasons, Frank Reich for another, was with the Bears. It's a lot of outside experience, and you don't hang around Sean McVay that long without knowing your football. That's good for him to have this type of role, and it shows the Patriots continuing to get more modern. And it's such a diverse coaching room that Mike Vrabel put on the offensive side. Josh McDaniels, Thomas Brown, Doug Marrone, offensive line coach. Yep. You know, an older, more experienced head coach. And then for what we know, like Tony Dews as a running back coach too. There's his guys he he knows, and it's kind of going outside the box and just hiring good candidates, which I love.
I'm a big fan of this because when you look at some of the things that Mike Vrabel did, I remember the conversations coming out about whether or not he was going to end up at the Cowboys. And the only thing that I thought of was 2 tight end sets. I'm finally getting 2 tight end sets because he knows how to run it well and bring that versatility to an offense. So bringing in a guy like this, Clay Harbor went straight to Twitter and was like, Thomas is going to be a head coach one year. It's coming down the pipeline, and that just speaks to the fact of how well he develops players. Yeah. Vrabel in his press conference talked about connection and development, which is so key, and I think the Patriots were just missing that. Granted, there wasn't much time behind it, so I love this because the first thing that comes to mind, my love for the tight ends, but my next thing is the fact that there's going to be some versatility coming into this offense that's much needed, alleviate some pressure off of May, and help getting some things moving so they're not so predictable in their offense. Yep. Big fan of this.
They have to evolve it. They have to get more modern with it. Where does the fandom of the tight ends come from? You said it for Brock Bowers. Now you're doubling down with Thomas Brown as a coach.
No, it's funny because growing up in Tampa Bay, it was like linebackers, it was Lynch, it was defense. And then when you look at the versatility and the work ethic that goes into other positions, then tight ends, it was hand in the dirt, but you got to be able to go out for routes. And when you look at the training system of how tight ends actually become versatile in that sense and assets for their team, it's just so hard. So I love it because they weren't getting enough love. And then the hybrid tight ends came out when that became a thing in 2018, 2017.
Yeah, it's more of there's 2 types of tight ends. One that can block and pass catch, and the guys that are more of just a glorified wide receiver.
Exactly.
Kyle Pitts, David Njoku, Travis Kelce.
Yeah, so when all that started coming about, I just really was so enamored by like how much respect it takes to play the position of tight end and like all that goes into it. So yeah, that's why I'm a big tight end girl. All right.
I don't know if you like grew up you grew up in Tampa. I can't think of like a Buccaneers great tight end back.
No, see, we didn't have like the great. Like close enough to us was like Tony Gonzalez. So you like peer over into some of the other teams and you're like, that's a pretty bomb tight end. And then for the 49ers, they went tight end heavy on a lot of things. That's when they had McDonald and a few other guys. So I was just, that's where my other teams picked them. Yeah.
No, I like it. All right, if you're enjoying the conversation, be sure to tune in Monday through Friday to Boston Has Entered the Chat. We talk all the latest news in sports in Boston and around the country each and every day. You can find us on YouTube, Twitch, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever else you get your podcasts. And now the interview, as I plugged in the beginning, Adam Vinatieri joining the chat. Check it out right here.
What's up, everybody? Ante Campbell here with Kasey Hudson. And, of course, I have to tell you about this guy sitting in between us right here. NFL's all-time leading scorer, second most career starts, and currently a finalist for the 2025 Pro Football Hall of Fame class, Adam Vinatieri. What's up, Adam? How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Hey, good to see you. Look, Adam, I got to ask you about this. You're a 4-time Super Bowl champion. The Super Bowl is set. We got Chiefs versus Eagles. Patrick Mahomes is looking for his 4th Super Bowl ring, and his three-peat is on the line here. I got to ask you, because people are talking about it over here in New England. Brady, Mahomes. If Mahomes gets this 4th one, is he the GOAT? Is the Patriots Dynasty better than the Chiefs Dynasty? Let us know.
Proof, man. Proof is in the pudding, right? I mean, if he can do something like that, it obviously means that he's doing something very, very special that has not been done before. So, I'm a huge Brady fan. I'm obviously a big Patrick Mahomes fan. I was never teammates with him, but I've got a huge admiration and respect for everything that he's doing. I mean, you look at the team, it's changed a little bit over the last few years. They lose some of their high-powered guys, but he just finds a way to keep going out there and keep winning games. I thought this game this weekend, I was like, man, the Bills are really good, and Allen and all those guys, I'm like, it might be just too much for them, and they just keep finding ways to get it done. So if they can throw up a win in a couple of weeks and be a three-peat, I mean, hey, I will drop to my knees and worship and say, hey, man, good for you guys. You are the man, and Andy Reid and everything that they've done as a program is absolutely amazing.
Love the respect all around. You mentioned teammates, though, so we've got to talk about a guy that you played adequate time with, Mike Vrabel. What have you seen from when he was a player, and how that's translated into his coaching style and what he's going to bring to this Patriots team now?
Well, first and foremost, Mike is a heck of a competitive guy. He's an X's and O's guy. He's a wonderful player when he played, but I think he has the right attitude and the right type of demeanor to make sure guys can hit their potential. I mean, I think all the good coaches are the ones that are out there that can make guys play to their potential, right? And I think Mike's that type of guy. He's a very sarcastic, funny guy that can push the right buttons to get guys going. And I thought he did a pretty good job in Tennessee, and I see him doing a wonderful job in New England. I really think he'll turn that organization around. I thought it was kind of strange that Gerard Mayo only got a year to kind of, try to build a team. It's pretty tall order to do, when you have to start dealing with other team, the coach before used draft choices and salary cap issues and stuff. But I do think Vrabel's the right man for the job. I think he's going to do a great job, and I look forward to watching them maybe climb back up and start competing again for the AFC East.
Yeah, another guy that was there in those locker rooms with you guys is Josh McDaniels. Obviously, he's the new OC here in Patriots, which is familiar territory for him. But I have to ask, you seen him have a hand mold in Brady a little bit. He wasn't quite the OC yet while you were in the Patriots. But what can Josh McDaniels bring to this OC opportunity, and what can he bring to the new quarterback Drake May?
Well, I think all coaches and players, we learn from each other, right? We learn from our experiences. And, he was there when Belichick was there. He knows how to call plays. He's got some head coach experience and stuff like that. I really respect his play calling ability, and I think he'll have guys ready to go, obviously, under the tutelage of Vrabel leading the team. I do think Josh McDaniels is a smart X's and O's coach, and I think it will be a good situation for their offense moving forward for sure.
Yeah, I want to go quickly right back to the Super Bowl because once again, 4-time Super Bowl champion sitting here in front of us. Who do you think is going to win this matchup, Chiefs or Eagles? Because I know a lot of America is hoping for the Eagles win in this one.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. Early in the year when the Chiefs were winning games, but just kind of by the skin of their teeth, they've had a couple of games that you're like, man, they don't look like the Chiefs of the past. I don't know, once they get to the playoffs and they're playing consistently good teams over and over again, are they going to have enough firepower? Well, they've answered that question. Obviously, they've won a couple of good games down the stretch. They've impressed the heck out of me. The way I look at it, until you knock out the champ is the champ until he's not. Right? So if you're asking me, I would put my money on the Chiefs. I do think Coach Nick Sirianni is a great coach. I've had some experience with him in Indy when he was there. He's got that team playing really, really well. They've got, when your running back rushes for 2,600 yards on the season, it's hard to. And then you watch him yesterday, and he just keeps on doing his thing. It's hard to go against them. I mean, if I was just looking on paper, I would probably say, man, Philly's got a really good chance. I think they've got a chance. But when you got Patrick Mahomes, no joke. I'm never voting against, or never betting against him. That's for dang sure. He just keeps on doing his thing.
These games always come down to not only just the talent and the skill of who's leading the team, Patrick Mahomes accordingly, but we got to talk about some of the fact that you've got more of creative design for offenses here. So you've got these play calling, you've got teams that kind of out skill one another when it comes to that mentality. Are the Chiefs having the upper hand in that sense? Because the play calling, you can't go against Andy Reid, and then you got Patrick Mahomes who can do it all, and the connections with everybody else.
Yeah, I honestly feel like you're going against the two best teams in football right now. Obviously, I mean, the way that they went through the playoffs and played, and I mean, there's a reason these two teams are playing in a couple of weeks for the Super Bowl, right? So it's really hard to say that. I mean, you've got two really, really good, smart teams, good coaches. Andy Reid is in my mind, is a football genius as well. Like, he just puts the guys in the right situation to perform. And then when you have a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes that can just improvise and make something out of nothing. I mean, how many times do you think, man, this is going to be for a loss, and he's falling down and he sidearm throws a ball for 25 yards for a first down or a touchdown. You just sit there and go, that's not normal. Most people can't do stuff like that. But, on the other side, when you have Jalen Hurts and you have their offense and what they can do, and not only running the ball but throwing the ball as well. Both teams have a really good defense. Both teams have a really good special teams. It's like there's no like downfalls on either of these two teams. That's why it's going to be so intriguing to see who wins, because it's it's really a flip of a coin. I think either team, if they play well, but turnovers and penalties and stuff like that, you watch some of that throughout this week in a couple turnovers at the wrong time just swings the momentum, and anyone can win that game at that point, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you brought up the fact that a lot of people can't do a lot of things like that guy 15 in Kansas City. But you played with some pretty great quarterbacks during your time. You got to see Peyton Manning and you got to see Tom Brady firsthand. Where do you rank those three quarterbacks against each other?
Well, I'm still, it's with zero disrespect because they're both. I mean, all three of them.
You can't go wrong. You can't go
been
wrong.
out long enough. But those two, Brady and Mahomes, are first ballot Hall of Famers. Absolutely, no doubt, right? I mean, that goes without saying. So when you have three first ballot Hall of Famers, all of them who have won Super Bowls, all of them that are notoriously take their teams to 12, 13, 14 win seasons, it's really hard to say who would you take first or second or third. I think if you went just off of stats and records and all that stuff, you probably still put Tom as number one. I guess I probably do that just because of 7 Super Bowl rings, right? I mean, like, come on now. But if Patrick continues to do what he's doing, that number might get surpassed, and then at that point, I'll probably retract my sentence and hand it over. But in saying that, I played with 2 of the 3, and I couldn't have been any more blessed because I knew we were going to win tons of games. And Peyton, there was times that I was just in awe. Like, how do you continuously score 45 points a game, week in and week out? All 3 of them are just so smart, and they really dictate to the defense what they want them to do. You watch them change calls and check at the line and do stuff to put them in a defense that they want to be in. And they're like, all right, now I got you, right? And it's amazing to watch these guys work. It's really, we're all blessed to be able to watch them on Sundays for sure.
Once in a lifetime. Adam, we saw your partnership with Colt and their announcement on the safety impact a few days ago. Can you tell us in the audience a lot more about that?
Yeah, well, I've been I'm born and raised in South Dakota, enjoy hunting and fishing, and so some of that, puts me with firearms and stuff. And I think Colt's doing a wonderful thing. They're launching the Safety Impact Award, highlighting the critical mission of educating everyone on safety and responsible firearm ownership. So makes sense to me, right? It tells me if you like guns, if you don't like guns, I think everybody can agree that firearm safety and ownership, being responsible with that is a very big number one concern, no matter if you like guns or not, right? So, Colt's done a wonderful thing. Myself, along with Clay Matthews, Joe Thomas, and Fletcher Cox, are all working with them and nonprofit organizations to make an impact on keeping our communities informed and safe. So for all the people out there, if you want, go to safetyimpactaward.com. You can vote for any of us, and Colt will donate $1 to the winning nonprofit organization for every vote cast. And here's the kicker, right? If you enter the sweepstakes, you have an opportunity of winning up to $100,000 if there's a safety during the Super Bowl. So it's a weird thing. Not many people are sitting there going, we want a safety. But in this particular situation, it will be very, very good for the fans, whoever sign up for that. I think it will be a wonderful thing. So get out there, cast your votes before January 31st, and come vote for me too. I mean, that would be a wonderful thing. I love supporting good causes like this, and this is one of the best ones I've been around for sure.
Yeah, we're all going to be rooting for a safety. We're all going to be rooting for Adam Vinatieri, not only with the Colt Safety Impact Award, but also in the 2025 Hall of Fame inductee. Adam, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on. That's awesome. Thank you.
Want the latest on the NFL and the Patriots? Well, Drake May needs help. We discuss how he can get it. They have the 4th overall pick, a lot of cap space, new head coach, and as we just spoke about, a fully vetted out coaching staff outside of the wide receivers coach. But you can catch it all on Foxborough Rush. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever else podcasts are found. You could also watch it on Nesson's YouTube page. And if you are there, hit the subscribe button, leave a thumbs up, leave a comment, and that comment can join the show. That's Foxborough Rush. New episodes dropping every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So talking Patriots talk, Chiefs back in the Super Bowl. How are we feeling about that? You for the Chiefs dynasty?
I'm over
Great
it.
tight end. But
I'm
wait.
over it.
But they have Travis Kelce. one of the greatest, second greatest tight end of all time.
Do I love Taylor Swift? Sure.
Okay.
Do I respect and love Travis Kelce? We just talked about the tight ends and my love for tight ends, but no, I'm over it. I was heartbroken watching the Bills' dreams just slide away yet again because there's just so many factors involved in it. But yeah, you can't look away from all that plays into the Chiefs getting back to this position. So out of a respect standpoint, welcome back, Chiefs. Congratulations. But outside of that, it's tough for me.
And I mean, they can win a third straight. We saw that just the difference between the Bills and the Chiefs. Where everyone going in, and I get it, I think Josh Allen does win MVP this year. I think, again, it's based off the regular season. And he was the offense for the Bills. It was just the Chiefs are well coached. Yeah. It was Andy Reid against Sean McDermott. You could argue which quarterback is better. To me, it's clearly Patrick Mahomes. You can argue what defense is better, but it was the Chiefs showed up ready. They've been in that spot multiple times, and they've won. Mm-hmm. And the Bills, it's just like that same nightmare coming up time and time again. They froze in the moment. Like, it just got too big for them. And it was Joe Brady with the play calling, going with those dumb QB sneaks to the left. Everyone saw it coming. The no creativity, not being ready for a Steve Spagnuolo blitz, which he'll always go down blitzing even if he doesn't do it all game.
Thank you. It's like we know, watching and working in this industry, what was potentially going to be like some of the play calls, and it felt like the Bills missed film that week. He's blitz heavy for those moments, and maybe they were relying on the fact that the Bills' offensive line was notably top 5 this season.
Yeah, it was a great O-line.
You can't rely on that only, and we know that if anything bails or falls apart in that play calling moment, it's going to be Allen and his legs, and that's exactly what they look for, because at that point, Allen using his legs is always associated with a lack of discipline or forcing fumbles or him losing the ball sometimes outside of great rushes. So that's what stressed me out watching that game yesterday. I just kept texting my family, I can't do it. I can't watch this.
It was just like when I was watching the divisional game, I trust John Harbaugh, not Sean McDermott. I trust Josh Allen, not Lamar Jackson. And when it comes to this one, it's easy. I trust Mahomes. I trust Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo in that defense. It was a great game, but it was late in the game who executes. So that put the Chiefs in their third straight Super Bowl they could potentially win. They have 5 Super Bowl appearances, 4 wins in 6 seasons. They can do that if they pull this one off, if they complete the 3-peat. The question is, though, of the dynasties. You think of the Chiefs were just in the 7th straight AFC Championship, and since 2019, 5th Super Bowl appearance. While the Patriots, of course, have 2 separate dynasties.
Right.
They're the one from 2001 to 2004 with the 3 Super Bowl wins, but all the AFC Championship appearances. And then, of course, the latter 3 they had with Tom Brady as well. And that one was a span of 8 straight AFC Championship game appearances, 3 Super Bowl wins, and 4 appearances in 8 seasons. What dynasty do you think is better? The fact the Patriots have 2 to me says, well, they got 2.
I know,
but the Chiefs, if they 3-peat, they're the first to ever do it.
Right.
And this would be 4 Super Bowl wins for them since the start of the 2019 season.
I know. It's hard to argue against the 2 dynasties coming together, and obviously the latter end of that, as you mentioned. But to go back-to-back is already one mountain to climb.
Yeah.
To do it 3 times in a row, you can't go against that. Yeah. It's not an easy thing to do. The game has changed tremendously in terms of how much talent is out there, how rosters are being wielded. So it's not like they haven't earned it. And what I can respect about the Chiefs, because if I say love too heavily, I'm going to get so much garbage. But what you have to respect about the Chiefs is they don't have this eloquent way of playing their game. You really don't know what to expect. You mentioned creativity, but I always refer to it as kind of like that backyard football. When they need to make big plays happen, they do. So there's this extra level of excitement to it, and you just sitting on the edge of your chair how are they going to pull this off? Because they probably didn't have a lot of the best looking wins this season. Yep. I didn't expect them to get here because of that. But yeah, you win 3 in a row. That says more than you can really argue.
That just puts you that's an immoral team.
Yeah.
That is immortality when it comes to thinking of a dynasty. And it's a pillars that they've had, because I just go back to, you think of the Patriots of that first dynasty run from 01 to 07. There's 4 Super Bowl appearances. The only one they lost was, of course, 2007 when they were undefeated against the Giants. But still, they won 3 in the first 4 years. But the Chiefs could win 4 in 6 seasons.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes out to. Then it's all right, what about the second dynasty? The Patriots went to 8 straight AFC Championship games, from 2011 to 2018. Yeah. They won 3 Super Bowls in a 5-season span. Okay, the Chiefs, again, will win 3 in a row. And then on top of that, it could be 4 in a 6-season window. If they complete this, you have to say it's the 3-peat, as you mentioned. It'd be the first to ever do in the Super Bowl era. It's the 3-peat, and then it's how big this window is.
Yeah.
And what's insane is watching last night, you got to remember Patrick Mahomes is just 29.
Yes.
He could have 4 Super Bowls wins before turning 30. That is absurd.
Yeah, imagine the dirty 30 party that'll be. But then the other thing in comparison as well is that with the Patriots dynasties and, kind of taking it back to how people maintain rosters at that point, they did a better job at keeping guys on the same roster for a longer period of time. And then you look at the Chiefs roster over the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
They've lost key pieces. Sometimes you've looked at their offense and been like, okay, half of the guys are injured and not in the mix.
Yeah.
The other guys are young and inexperienced. I mean, Xavier Worthy, they weren't sure how large his role was going to be and how they were going to utilize him. So it's just the buy-in with that I think adds to the dynasty level for the Chiefs. Like you have players that come in and maybe they weren't there out the gate. Maybe they haven't been there for the last 3 years, but they're going to play a role. I mean, was it Justin Watson that picked up a huge touchdown for them last night? If you look at his numbers statistically or from like a batting standpoint,
like
no one talks
piece.
about him. Yeah, exactly. So I think the roster manipulation on top of it, not having the same guys consistently all the time, but still getting to this point speaks volumes.
It's where you see the ownership where the Hunt's back. They have a president of football ops. His name is escaping me, but it's Brett Veach running the show from the front office. It's Andy Reid as the head coach, who passed Bill Belichick most playoff wins all time for an NFL head coach, and he'll likely get that wins record if he continues at the pace, and we'll see how much longer he goes. But that is tangible for him. But like that all aside, again, it's when you talk dynasties, people who say you got to win 3. You got to win 3 to be a dynasty. All right, the Chiefs are about to win 3 in a row. They're going to be the first NFL dynasty to ever do so.
Yeah.
This doesn't happen. Back-to-backs don't happen often in sports. Like MLB hasn't experienced this since the Yankees in the late 90s, into 2000. And maybe the Dodgers do it the first time since then. The NFL has seen the back-to-backs, like the Patriots 03-04, obviously the Chiefs right now. But the 3 in a row would never happen. This would make it the greatest dynasty. And again, it's more than you're winning 3. It's 4 in a 6-year window.
Yeah.
And with Mahomes not going anywhere, we'll see how much Travis Kelce has left in the tank. You mentioned it's like the pillars of the roster, but they just find ways to kind of reinvent the personnel, reinvent the image of the team in a way, where you bring in a Steve Spagnuolo, a great defensive coordinator. You watch him and you wonder, the Raiders just hired Pete Carroll. Why would you not mess with the Chiefs and just hire Steve Spagnuolo just to get him away from your division rival? Whatever you could bring into it. How do other teams not go ahead and hire him just to try and do something to make the Chiefs defensively at least seem human? But it's what he did with the defense. It's what they've done with drafted guys. It's what they've done with free agency signings as well. But it's number 15. It's number 87. It's Kareem Hunt, again, being resurgent. You mentioned of Justin Watson, it's the first down they needed end of the game. It's Samaje Perine making that play. Like Samaje Perine, the cast off from the Bengals, is the 3rd running back, sometimes 4th with Carson Steele on this roster, and he pulls through. I just keep going back to if they complete this 3-peat, then yes, this is the greatest dynasty of all time in NFL history. It exceeds the dynasties we've seen from the Patriots, but it doesn't knock down or knock back what those Patriots dynasties were. And when you think of like a winning window, and this is what makes a winning era for the Patriots, to me, the most impressive of all time is because you can point to 2 different eras, 2001 to 2007, then 2011 to 2018, where they went to 9 Super Bowls, they've won 6, and it's just 2 separate types of dynasties. And in the early 2000s, run the ball in defense. From 2011 to 2018, it was Tom Brady being the baddest dude in the league and an offensive game, and they still found ways to win Super Bowls.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing to point out. You're talking about 2 different ways of winning and the systems in which they did it, whereas we just know one rhythm when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs. They make it look good, and they're definitely creative in the sense, but I think that's a great point that we could agree on, that they get this 3-peat, it's a lock-in, but it definitely doesn't take away from the Patriots. So I'm psyched to see what happens, what their depth's going to be. Then also, a lot of these championship games comes down to the defense, and what Spagnuolo has been really good with doing with this Chiefs team and what the Chiefs as a whole have done well is setting a defensive tone early in these games. I mean, to come out and get an interception, get in their heads immediately, I feel like that always plays in favor for them to get that splash play out the gate really quick and early.
If they don't complete the 3-peat, do you put this Chiefs dynasty up with the Patriots, though? Because, again, you go back to the 2019 season, the start of that year, however you guys want to put Super Bowls. They won it in 2020, February, right? But that's a Super Bowl in 2020, and the last 2 that they've won. There's a loss mixed in there as well when they lost to Tom Brady and the Bucs.
Tampa Bay.
Right? You're Tampa Bay City. But it's regardless, it's 3 Super Bowl wins and 5 appearances, 3 Super Bowl wins since 2019. Do you put them as a dynasty up with one of the Patriots dynasties at all?
Ooh, that's a good question. I guess I'd say yes, just because I'm thinking closely. I think it's when they played the Niners down in Miami. Those find-away wins, I think, is what also puts you in equal measure to being a part of a dynasty.
Yep.
And we saw a number of those out of the Patriots from 2007 and beyond. That find-away, that fourth quarter comeback, that, you know, you can't get rid of us that easy mentality. So, yeah, I'd have to say that they're right there with the Patriots. Don't be mad at me, Boston.
You say it. I mean, it has to be a respect thing. Like,
exactly.
And it's everything where the refs and the calls and everything that Patrick Mahomes is getting criticized for. Do I hate he flops? Yes. Do I blame him for baiting? No. Because if he can get away with it and get those calls in favor of him and you find those margins to win, the Patriots, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, that's a franchise that's done it for so long. Like Mahomes, Andy Reid, they're doing the same thing. But it's, you go back to, like you mentioned it, the first one they won was against the 49ers, and that was February 2020. They lost against the Buccaneers the following year, February 2021. And that was him without an offensive line. If he has that, an offensive line in the Super Bowl, maybe they beat the Bucs. And then he wins this back-to-back.
Right.
And it was offense. It was him, Tyreek Hill. Then it was him with no receivers. Then it was him with what was like DeMarcus Robinson, Kadarius Toney, like a bunch of nobodies.
Yep.
That's where it's still an impressive dynasty, but it is the Patriots, especially the first dynasty, the 3 wins in 4 seasons. Like that's up there on its own of like an all-time dynasty, how it goes. And then you think of the Patriots' second type of dynasty, where it is the Seahawks win, the Falcons 28-3 comeback, the win over the Seahawks, I say, and then the final one where they just won with defense. Like both of those are up there of just all-time dynasties as well. So to me, I would need to see them pull off the three-peat to put it ahead of either one. But then you're just looking at it, and you could go back in the day to the Steelers, the Cowboys, the 49er runs of ranking dynasties. But in modern day football, how advanced everything is, it's right now the Patriots 1-2, but the Chiefs with the win, they can hop from 3-1. That's a three-peat puts you where no one has ever been before.
Yeah, I would say 100%. That comes back to another conversation, though. I remember the guys talking about it going crazy on Twitter and stuff like that. I don't love to debate and have the conversation of Mahomes versus Brady, but does that, like, say that they hit the three-peat, or does that put your mind in terms of, like, Brady versus Mahomes?
My mind's already gone where Mahomes is going to catch him.
Okay.
Brady's the greatest of all time. And I was the one, like, it was unique. I was living in Missouri at the time of his rookie season when he was drafted. And, like, experienced it of, like, they traded up and got who? Like, what? But they have Alex Smith. And then you watch him play one game. It's, like, a lot of yard. But, like, and you're like, you got to stick with Alex Smith. And I just watched that first season. I was like, it's not stats. It's what I see on the field. This guy is going to be one of the greatest. And you go, like, what about John Elway? Like Steve Young. No one was even bringing Brady into the conversation, which I understood.
Right.
But now at this point, like he's not even 30 yet, and he could get his 4th. Brady is still the GOAT for having 7 rings, all those appearances. He instantly gets to Tampa Bay, and they win a Super Bowl. Like that can't be looked after. But Mahomes, he's going to catch him eventually, because if he gets a 4th, and even if he doesn't, he's only 29. I don't think he's going anywhere. Like I feel like he's got 8 years left, I would say, minimum. Like 37, but then again with like the modern game and science, like no, I guess he has 11 years left. He'll play through his 40.
Brady did what, 42?
Exactly.
Yeah, Mahomes can do 40 at least.
And it's his game of, we saw his athleticism pull off in the win with the 2 rushing touchdowns and also for first down, but he doesn't have to rely on that.
Yeah.
And it's again with Brett Veach, how he adapts. Get him an offensive line, and that'll elongate his career too. So I put it, Brady is one of one, but Mahomes, to me, I think will catch him one day. He just has to. What about you? What do you think on that?
I think you're right, because at first, of course, I didn't want to give credit where credit was due, but when you look at the age and the trajectory, I mean, there's nowhere for Mahomes to go but up. I mean, say that they win the three-peat, and say it takes them 2 seasons to move some pieces around and get back to what their dynasty has been over the past 4 seasons. They're going to get right back into it. There's not a lapse of time there where Mahomes is going to fall off and that team is going to fall off. So I think that's a hard one to go against. I think he's right up there as well. And then, like you mentioned, the health and the modernization of the sport these days, like he's got a lot of time ahead of him to make these things happen. And I think something else we're not talking about when it comes to the Chiefs season and them now getting back to the Super Bowl is Mahomes hasn't been playing healthy. I mean, he's really been banged up since, week 3 or 4? Early on in the season, there were so many question marks. So that was another element of surprise to the Chiefs making it to this level of play and getting back to the Super Bowl. It's just the fact that, like, he can play through so many uncomfortable assets of his body and of these injuries and still get his team here.
And it's also, like, I mean, this playoff run alone, who he went through.
Right.
I mean, it was the same thing last year. It was the Dolphins, it was Lamar, it was Josh Allen. This year, it was literally Lamar and then Josh Allen. And like the 1 year Joe Burrow broke through him, beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. Matt Stafford stopped him. Think of the 2 quarterbacks that won Super Bowls. If it's not Patrick Mahomes, it's Matt Stafford and it's Tom Brady. Like all-time GOATs, top 10 guys at the position, all-time in the history of the NFL. Now, Mahomes to me is ahead of Stafford, and he has been playing as long, which is absurd. But it's a degree of difficulty to win too, though, and it's different ways they've done it. But Josh Allen, that loss wasn't on Josh Allen. It was on the team around him. It was on the coaching. It was Sean McDermott and Joe Brady not pulling through. And even with Lamar Jackson, he's had his issues, but like that second half, how he bounced back, it was when it was 22-21. Chiefs got the ball after a turnover on downs. I was just like, this is it. They're going to score. And I'm like, do they go for 1 or 2? That's the thinking with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And that's what it was with Tom Brady. And that's what puts Mahomes. That's where Mahomes is in the conversation as an athlete. And that's what you want. It's one of those, like they're the basketball players, when you give them an open look, like a Steph Curry, you regret it. They're going to hit the game winner. You give Patrick Mahomes a ball with enough time or any time at this, you regret it because you know it's going to equate into a win.
Yep. And I think that fear kind of radiates through their opponents pretty quickly because you saw it a number of times in the championship game. I mean, some of their plays looked really stoppy, and then you saw the Bills kind of get high on themselves thinking, okay, we just shut them down on 3rd and whatever. Yeah. And then the big play happens. That's a fear that I feel like they instill in all of their opponents, like that big play opportunity, Patrick Mahomes finding somebody down the middle of the field yards out. And again, what player it's going to be, who it's going to be. But you're talking about some of the quarterbacks he had to go through. And I saw that he's 6-1 in the playoffs versus Burrow, Jackson, and Allen. Who would you say Tom Brady's, Burrow, Jackson, and Allen's are?
Peyton, obviously. Roethlisberger. I'm trying to think, because I'm going only AFC teams in this one, too. I mean, it's Peyton at 2 different installments, too. Like Broncos Peyton, Colts Peyton. There's Ben Roethlisberger for those years with the Steelers. All-time matchups. I mean, there's a guy he went 0-2 against in the Super Bowl, and that's Eli Manning. Like, there has to be a story in it. And obviously, he didn't match up with Mahomes enough times. But I just think those 2 names come to mind for me.
Okay.
Am I missing one? Is there one you had in your mind? I feel like I wanted to say a third. Again, Drew Brees was NFC.
I know. I feel like most of the villains for Brady were over in the NFC.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's,
There's one out there. Hey, if you guys are listening and you know that third quarterback, that other one that's a villain for Brady, tweet at us using the chat, email us, thechat@nesson.com, or tweet at us using the hashtag NessonChat. For more on the Red Sox offseason, hey, check out Nesson's baseball podcast, 310 to Left. We know you have a lot of questions about the Sox future. We ask the players, coaches, executives, and alumni those same questions on 310 to Left. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever else you get your podcasts. All right, and the one team that could stop that dynasty from happening is the Philadelphia Eagles. Of course, one of the teams that beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl with Nick Foles. I guess Nick Foles. He's not a rival. He's a villain.
But he's living. You think he's lived rent free in Tom Brady's head for a minute?
Yeah,
for sure.
Him and Eli, that's rent free living. Yeah.
Okay, so then they still go in a category of their own against him.
Brady played phenomenally well in that Super Bowl against the Eagles. Like, they should have won. It's more of like Malcolm Butler not playing, but we're another conversation.
You're rehashing things.
Yeah, another conversation. Exactly. All of this is rent free in his head. But what makes the Eagles significant is they're owned by Jeff Lurie. Lurie is a Boston native, and he is the principal owner of the Eagles, of course. Bought the team back in 1995. And what we see them doing, they're on the precipice of winning their second Super Bowl. Since that time, they beat the Patriots out in Minnesota. But what makes him significant in Boston right now, Jeff Lurie is reportedly in on buying the Boston Celtics. Now, this is a guy sold 8% of the Eagles for over $660 million. They've been valued at $8.3 billion in total value. His net worth is reportedly around $5 billion. And the Celtics, of course, again, another big number, another B, $6 billion is what they're valued at. But Irv Grousbeck, really, they're selling 49 to 51% of the team. What number exactly that comes out to, I don't know. But Jeff Lurie, being a player to buy the Celtics, makes sense business-wise. And if you're the city of Boston, I understand he owns a Philadelphia team. He's one of the best owners in all of sports. This would be a terrific move if this was to happen, to be the next ownership group that takes over the Celtics. Yeah,
you mentioned a key thing there in terms of, like, let's say great business practices. Like, that's what you want to hear and see when it comes to taking over these sports teams, because we've seen a number of owners do it in a habitual manner, and then it's everything starts at the top, right? The rosters look a mess. The coaching coming in is a mess. The GMs and the coach aren't connecting. So having somebody like that come into the Celtics, you have the Celtics that are coming off of a championship season. A lot of people are putting them in the category to go back into that this season. But how do you expand that? How do you keep that moving along? It's smart business tactics. It's maintaining your roster. It's having the affordability to maintain your roster. So probably a move that, regardless of the Philly versus Boston conversation, is something worth looking into and being excited about.
I mean, it'd make it hilarious where Josh Harris owns the Sixers, now owns the Commanders. Jeff Lurie on the reverse owns the Eagles, will own the Celtics potentially. That is your Sixers and Eagles owner also owning rivals of that city as well. So like every time every time the Celtics beat the 76ers, and if Lurie's the owner and they get pissed off and they're making these big moves and they go, how are the Celtics doing this? Why are the Sixers? And they look down the road at like Eagles ownership. That's what, I mean, it would just be like twisting of the knife. What I love is that I think Jeff Lurie, and I said it, I think he's one of the best owner in all of sports. I mean, he spends money out of his pocket, like major signing bonuses, because that's how he makes contracts work. Like the Eagles were able to pay Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. Well, Jalen Hurts, Saquon, Jordan Mailata, Bryce Huff, they're not actually getting paid until 2027. Right. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson, like the big cap hit will come in 2028. But the way they get these guys to sign up for these extensions is paying the money up front. And that's Jeff Lurie being on board with that. That's Howie Roseman being a guy that runs a front office, knowing how to finesse the cap. But you need to get your buy-in from the ownership. And that all starts at the top of Jeff Lurie. He hires smart people, knows what they're doing. He doesn't overstep. He doesn't try to get too hands-on. And he's not afraid to be proactive and correct a mistake. Like Doug Peterson was fired right after leading the Eagles to a Super Bowl. He saw stuff was going sideways, and he did it before it got worse, and then it just manifested into a big issue for the team. I look at Jeff Lurie with the Eagles. He's the opposite of Jerry Jones with the Cowboys. Yes. Jerry sticks with his guys too long. Mm-hmm. He oversteps. We all know he's a GM. He does an awful job at that. There might not be a bigger critic in the world of Jerry Jones than me of just calling him out for how dumb of an owner he can be. You got the money. Just let football people make football decisions. It's the business model that the Eagles have and what has worked for them that can work there. Because on top of it, when you look at, and everyone talks about the cash spending, and that's what you have to do in the NBA, of course, and it's what the Crafts don't necessarily do. They were top 10 in cash spending 5 times recently. First in 2016, second in 2019, third this season. Shout out to my producer, Ethan, for getting that nugget. He spends money. He's not afraid to do it. He's not afraid to pay and hire the right people. And he's not afraid to delegate, but also make the tough decisions. He's bought in.
Yeah.
That's everything you want in an owner. It's not a business asset for him. It is something he takes very seriously.
It's the delegation that sticks out to me, especially when you make the Jerry Jones comparison. Like, he's going to allow the brains behind the operation to focus on what they're best at, which is crucially important for building out rosters and looking at wins and stuff like that. But regardless of being smart about it and holding on when it's good to hold on and letting go when it's good to let go, there's a loyalty there.
Yeah.
And there's still a level of respect there. So even players who want to stay with the Eagles, but they know it's time to move on because it's the best interest of their career, the next chapter of their career, there's no animosity around it. And we're seeing a lot more hurt feelings when it comes to those cutthroat decisions. So that tells you a lot about his management style and then the money and everything else that you mentioned in terms of delegation.
Yeah, the Eagles are about to be in their 4th appearance since he purchased the team in 95. They could get their 2nd win. They've been eight NFC Championship appearances, and it's always a relevant team that's at the top A of their division and always in the mix in the NFC. Like, I just can't remember when the Eagles have bottomed out.
You're right.
And that's what makes it impressive. They don't have these high draft picks, and they make things work like Jalen Hurts, a later round draft pick as a quarterback, make the investments in the right spot, go out and get great players, trade for an A.J. Brown, sign a Saquon Barkley, draft a Devontae Smith. And what they do on defense as well, it's all homegrown talent pretty much up front. It's Jalen Carter, it's Milton Williams, it's Jordan Davis, Zach Bond they signed and they resurged his whole career. Darius Slay, Kenyon Mitchell, and it's just they invest at every level, and that's what you want in any team. Sticking with the NBA, just breaking, Jimmy Butler indefinitely suspended by the Miami Heat because he walked out of shoot-around after he was informed that he would not be starting. This is the 3rd time this month he's been suspended after he reportedly demanded to trade earlier this month, walked out of practice because the Heat told him Haywood Highsmith would be starting over him. It's getting uglier and uglier by the day. It's insane. It's gotten to this point. Just straight. I mean, and the indefinite suspension, it's a minimum 5 games. They're done with him. But what do you do with him? He's 35, costing $52 million. He'll be a free agent. Like, no one wants him.
No, and that's the hardest part about it. I think obviously the trade conversation or potential started putting the gasoline on this situation.
Yeah.
But when you can't add up to being able to not be a starter and then you walk out, we've seen a lot more attitude, and it sucks because after conference finals, was it last year or the year before, everybody started to see so much personality out of him and gravitated towards him, the dyed hair, the rock and roll lines that he was dropping, and now it's like he's got no position here. So where does a guy like this end up that he can, I don't know, rattle things in the Eastern Conference? Because I was seeing things like the Nets. That's not going to happen anytime soon. I was seeing things about the Magic. Maybe that could help out, but where could he make a statement in a trade?
I mean, he's 35, about to be 36. Again, that $52 million price tag. He's like an albatross. And his game, it's like the pump fakes into fouls, like everyone's true shooting percentage. His offensive game is just like his athleticism and his overall youth has like passed him. So he's not that same high impact player. I honestly can't give an answer because the Magic Guard team, when they get healthy, they can be contenders to make a run in the East. This is a guy that could subtract. That's a big personality in the locker room. You're going to have to give up a lot of minutes to good players for him. And it's just how bad this is. It's not it was Philly. Of course, it was the Bulls. It was Philly. It was Minnesota. Being headaches at different stops, rubbing people the wrong way. It's just for it to be this bad and to not jive with Heat, which is like he embodies what Heat culture is, and Pat Riley. I don't know. If it's the Nets, that'd be awful. It's absolutely terrible. Magic, that's at least a team that's winning as young talent and can win, but I don't know with him.
Yeah, I mean, with them being so young, you mentioned the diva mentality. That can come in and disrupt an entire locker room.
Yeah.
And you've got young guys that are gelling now. So they either have to be in awe of Butler and he's got to be able to pick back up some of his peak performances, or he's probably looking at the end of the rope here.
Yeah. I mean, be a free agent, sign somewhere.
League.
Yeah,
go join
him
the
and
G
Isaiah
League.
Thomas in Utah.
There you go.
Enjoy it. I mean, he's got $52 million coming him this way. He can afford to play in the G League.
Exactly. Relax.
She's Kasey Hudson. I'm George Balekji. This was Boston has entered the chat. Appreciate you guys making us a part of your day. Make sure to like, subscribe, download, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. And if you're watching on Neston's YouTube page, hit the subscribe button as well. New episodes dropping every day of the week. We'll see you guys same time, same place tomorrow.